With all of these projects coming in, it's really important that you manage your time well as a freelancer. Because if you don't manage your time and if you don't have a steady schedule, the chances of you reaching those deadlines are rather low. So in this lesson, we're going to talk about how we can manage our time, develop a steady routine for our daily lives, and how we can reach those deadlines in a better way. So as a freelancer, you're no longer working in an office, meaning that your daily routine is not like your coworkers, and you're not always supervised for your work times. As a freelancer, it's just you, so you have to set your working hours and make sure that you get the right task done on time. Now, because of that, you would have to learn about one of the most important skills of a freelancer, and that is time management. If you've done freelancing before, this is not a new topic. This is for people who just started freelancing and they're just confused with all of these projects coming in. They feel unsure about whether they can meet those deadlines and are rather frustrated at the moment. So if that is you and you don't know how to reach those deadlines, or if you just started out and you're trying to prevent that situation, by the end of this lesson, you will know exactly what you should do. So let's talk about your working hours as a freelancer. You have to set a certain time during the day dedicated to your project. This could be maybe 9 hours a day, 5 hours a day. It all depends on how much you can get done in those hours. Once you have set a period of time dedicated to your work, it's easier to then distribute your projects into those time segments. And if you are working with multiple projects at a time, it's really important that you distribute them one after the other so that during one day you're focused on one project instead of 5 projects at the same time, so that you don't end up ruining one or the other. Planning beforehand is a really helpful thing to do. You want to make sure that you know the projects that you would be working on in the upcoming months, and then based on that you can just distribute them evenly throughout the weeks that are going to come, and then all you have to do is to meet those weekly goals, and that would be a lot easier than if you don't plan anything out and you're just cramming every project throughout the week, and that could oftentimes be frustrating. So the first thing you want to do is to find out and figure out what you're going to do in the upcoming month. So if we are in May right now, you want to know what you would be doing in the month of June. If we are at the end of May, that is. You want to know what you're doing at the during June, and that way you can plan everything out in the month of May. So you're kind of preparing everything the month before. And when you prepare beforehand, you're going to take some of that stress from your shoulders because you know exactly what you would be doing, and then you would just be focused on what you're doing daily rather than what you're doing daily, weekly, and monthly. So you're kind of saving yourself a little bit of that stress. Once you know your plan for the month, you can go ahead and distribute those plans into the weeks that are in that month. For example, if I'm working on 3 different projects in the month of June, I would want to distribute those projects throughout the weeks. So week 1, I would be doing project A. Week 2, I would be doing project B. And the 3rd week, I would be doing project C. And then the final week, I could just focus on wrapping things up and making sure everything is perfect. So this way, I would be a lot more organized in terms of my work schedule and for my own mental health. You don't want to cram everything and leave it last minute. That is the worst thing that you could do as a freelancer, because every project that you do is going to give you a result on your profile, on Upwork at least. So when you do a project for a client and they're not happy with it because you did it last minute and you didn't put enough time on it, that client will return on your profile and leave a testimonial saying that you didn't deliver the task, you didn't communicate enough, and some other things that could result in a negative impact on your profile and on the other clients that are looking to work with you. So leaving things last minute And getting bad results from your project is something you want to stay away from as much as possible. Because like we said, it's going to have a very bad effect on your profile and therefore on other clients that are hoping to work with you. The second thing that you want to do is to plan out your days beforehand. So you would be planning out tomorrow, today, and then do that for the rest of the month. What I like to do is to keep a notebook with me at all times where I can write out the schedule for the next day on the night before. So tonight I would be writing out the schedule for tomorrow in a form of a checklist. So tomorrow, whatever I do, I can just check it off and get ready to write the plan for the next day. Some people like to do this on mobile apps. I like to write it down with a pencil. You can choose whichever works best for you. You can also use calendars to mark out the events on a specific day. Again, you can write this out on a piece of paper or a calendar, or just use your mobile applications to make sure that you are reminded of a certain task on a certain day. Setting alarms and marking your calendar is really important. Most people like to just skip over them. They think that it's a hassle. But the truth is that as humans, we forget things. And as a freelancer, if you do forget to do a project, that's just not going to work out because that's your income and you're going to need that income. So you want to make sure that you plan everything out and make sure that you meet these deadlines no matter what. You also don't want to overwork yourself just for the sake of these deadlines. They are important indeed, but you also got to think about the machine that is getting all these projects done. If you overwork yourself and give yourself no time to rest, then obviously you're going to cause the quality of your work to decrease, and that is going to affect the projects that you are getting and the projects that you will get in the future. You never want to sabotage your quality of work just for the sake of one deadline. So it's important to give yourself breaks in between your projects. For example, you can give yourself some day offs if you'd like, or a couple of hours of rest. You want to include maybe some exercising time, some family time, friend time, any time where you can just relax a bit and refresh your mind before going to get started on another task. So maybe you can dedicate your the most productive times of your day, which for most people is the morning, but some people say it's night for them. You can dedicate those productive times for your work and then leave the rest of the day for some relaxation, maybe some exercise time, tidying things up, and that's really good for both your work life and your life in general. So you never want to overwork yourself. That's something that most freelancers avoid. They think that, oh, well, because I don't have a steady income and it's all based on my project, I gotta work myself to the very end and just push and push until I can get multiple projects done at the same time. But that's just going to have a negative effect on your life, so try to stay away from that. If you are a freelancer that just started out and you haven't had projects before, then it's also important to start out slow. You don't want to take multiple projects at the same time, knowing that you haven't done it before and you don't know how to manage those projects in the right way. So if it's your first time freelancing, go for like one project, finish that project, then go for the other one. It's going to take some time for you to learn how to do multiple projects at the same time, because it's going to need more than just completing tasks. It's going to need some management, communication skills, and other skills that a freelancer needs. It's also important to know when you are supposed to decline a certain project. If you have a lot of projects on your mind, maybe some family issues are going on and you're just not in the right headspace, you should not take any other projects. You should respectfully decline the project and say that I'm busy and I don't have any space for a new project this month. This is also something that most freelancers brush over. They think that it's all about the project. They can handle it even if they stay up the whole night. But this is something you want to avoid because you're trying to go for freelancing for a while and not in a short term. So try not to have negative impact on your mind just because of these projects. When you feel like you cannot handle a new project, feel free to just say no, respectfully decline, and just let the client know that you're really busy and not just because you don't feel like it. Try to use some real life events as an excuse. Be like, for example, I've been having some family problems and right now I'm not able to take on your project. Hopefully in the future we can go for another project. The client will understand. It's a pretty standard thing. So you don't feel bad about saying no to a project, and try to keep your daily life as a priority. And if you are going to take on a new project, just take a look at a few elements before saying yes. Number one is, do you have the time? Do you have other items occupying your schedule? Do you have some major events coming up? If yes, then you would want to think a little bit more about accepting this new project. But if you don't have any major events and your time is mostly free, then you can just accept the project. And another thing to look at is, are you capable of completing that task within the time that the client is giving you? Let's say they want you to make a website in 1 day. This may be possible if you just use your entire day for that one project, but it's really not worth it. So try to extend that deadline and bring your professional reasoning into the picture, saying that making one website in 1 day is just impossible because you gotta do all of these, and convince the client to give you more time. Most clients are flexible with their deadlines unless you leave it for like the last hour. But if you tell them beforehand, maybe like 2 weeks before the deadline, 1 week before the deadline, that, hey, I'm struggling with this task, could I have a little bit more time? Most of them will understand, so don't feel bad about extending deadlines, and try to be as honest and as upfront as possible. Even if you do manage your time well, there's always these unexpected events that show up in everyone's lives, and that is just not in our control. So we want to make sure that we're looking for a solution in all of the scenarios. There's also another way that you can meet those deadlines, even when it's just impossible for you to do, and that is asking for help from a friend or a colleague. The most important thing for these projects is that you get them done and you get the satisfaction of your client. So it doesn't matter if you didn't 100% do that work yourself. You can ask a friend or a colleague to help out with this project, and in return you will give them a percentage of the pay. You could let the client know that you did this with the team, you and that person, but you could also not mention it. It's up to you, but you could ask for someone's help if you feel like you can't meet those deadlines. Because the number one thing you want from these projects is your client's satisfaction, so they can come back to you for another project instead of avoiding you because you weren't straightforward about the deadlines and about how hard it was to finish those tasks. So those were some ways in which you can manage your time as a freelancer. Let's go over them one more time. The first one is to know what you're doing in the upcoming month, the number of projects that you're doing, the deadlines for all of them. Make sure you have finalized the contracts with your clients. You know exactly which date you're supposed to submit that project. So know how many projects you're working with on that month and when they're supposed to be submitted. Number 2 is to plan out your days on the nights before, either using a mobile application or a notebook, whichever you're comfortable with. Number 3 is to specify working hours for your days and resting hours. So maybe you would dedicate your mornings to work and your nights to relaxation and just life things, hanging out with your family and your friends, and just organizing your time in the right way so that you get your daily goals done and you get some rest for the sake of tomorrow, so that you are energized and ready for the next day. Number 4 is being realistic with your time. Since you know your schedule and the events that are happening throughout your days, it's really important to be upfront with your client if you feel like you cannot meet that deadline. So you want to tell them at least a week before, and just be straightforward with them. There's no reason to beat around the bush when the project is on the line. There's no need to speak too highly, saying that you will finish, let's say, all 3 websites in 1 week. You want to just be upfront about it and be like, hey, I feel like I cannot get this done on the deadline. I'm letting you know 1 week before. Is it possible if we can maybe add 3 days to that deadline? As long as you're honest and upfront about it, there won't be an issue with the client. And finally, you want to make sure that you know when you're supposed to decline a new project. Looking at your schedule, your daily life, and all the other situations that you're in, you want to be realistic with yourself too. And if you feel like you cannot take on a new project, just know when to say no. You can simply decline a project. There's nothing wrong with that as long as you haven't written a contract. You can just tell the client that, hey, I appreciate the offer, but there's other things going on. I'm busy. You can also bring in real examples if you'd like. I'm busy and I cannot take a new project at the moment. Hopefully we can do this another time. Writing it respectfully and respectfully declining a new project is nothing weird and it's just pretty common in the freelancing world. So those were some 5 tips that you can use to manage your time better and develop a steady schedule for your freelancing. So right after this lesson, I want all of you guys to take a notebook or a mobile app and write out the stuff that you have to get done in the next day. And if possible, write out the stuff that you have to get done in the upcoming month and keep these scheduling habits with you so that you would have proper power over your schedule and you can manage all the things that are happening to you. And with the right time management and scheduling, you can go and get even more projects and be more successful in your freelancing.